Hello and welcome back to another week of Two Sheep in a Pool. My name's Ben.
My name's James.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I want to talk, and I want to make a point now of how much your dog loves me.
She does really love you.
Yeah. She was very, very excited when I came around today.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I come around, she gets more and more excited to see me.
I think my girlfriend's a bit jealous of how much she loves you.
Yes. Well,
Not my girlfriend loves you, how much the dog loves you.
Both of them. We can all love me. Got enough love to go around.
Oh, dear.
Beautiful dog. Beautiful dog.
Thanks.
Thank you for bringing her into my life, you know.
Thanks for appreciating her. What's going on with you this week?
Not a lot.
Good. Moving on. Have you got any complaints this week?
I haven't.
I've got one.
Go on then.
We'll talk about the main topic when we get to the main topic. But when I was travelling to what we were doing for the main topic, my complaint is Google Maps. It never let me down until this point. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I vaguely knew where we were going because it wasn't too far from where we live.
Yep.
But I thought I don't know specific roads, so I'll just put the sat-nav on. And
Yep.
can't go wrong because obviously sat-navs are meant to direct you.
Right.
And I was coming off the main road, and there's a road that I know takes me to the tunnel that runs to the Wirral from Liverpool. Yeah. And it was telling me to go down there, and I thought, surely not, that takes me to the tunnel. But I checked, and it definitely wanted to take me down this road. So I thought, there must be a turning off before you get to the tunnel that I've just not noticed before.
Right.
So I take the road, I start going down, and sure enough, the sat-nav tells me to turn through a fucking wall. It said turn left here through a brick wall.
Wow.
I was like, what? How? And then I was stuck in the tunnel. So I had to go through the tunnel to the Wirral, pay the toll, immediately turn round, pay the toll to come back, and then I was 10 minutes late for what we were meant to be doing.
You fool.
And I've ridiculed people in the past for that.
You have. You're gonna have to explain to me off mic the exact situation where you went wrong, because
I will.
I'm trying to imagine it, and I'm not particularly sure where it is, but I don't think it'll make very good conversation.
No,
on
it
here.
won't. So anyway, that was my complaint.
I feel like it's more of an issue of the person in between the steering wheel and the seat than actual Google Maps.
Because I knew when I saw it on the map that that looked like going to the tunnel.
Yeah.
If I wasn't from Liverpool and didn't live there, say that I was using that.
I'm pretty sure it does say like tunnel traffic only. Like I think there's a big sign that says that.
Potentially, but I knew the tunnel was. I knew that's where it went to the tunnel.
So you knew, but you still didn't sort it out.
I knew, but the sat nav clearly told me to go down there, and I had no reason to distrust the sat nav.
Do you remember we were talking about common sense, Ben? I think you have no common sense.
Oh,
no, you have. I think you have many common sense.
Many common senses.
Many common senses.
At least a couple of them.
But in that moment, you'd lost your head.
Right. Well, moving on. Should we go straight into news?
Yeah, let's go straight into news.
News Bleat. I come with news this week.
Go on then, you go first, seeing as you've not said any news for like 6 weeks now.
Right. Have you heard that Trump has has expressed interest in buying Greenland?
I have heard this, yes. Have you seen the tweets that he put out?
No, I've not.
He put a tweet out saying, "Don't worry, Greenland, I'm not going to do this." And there was like a picture of like picturesque Greenland, like it's covered in ice, but like a little village, and then a massive just hotel tower with Trump at the top. And he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to do this." He's literally memeing about buying Greenland off Denmark.
God. President of the United States.
Yeah. He cancelled his meeting with the Prime Minister of Denmark.
I couldn't say with any certainty.
The leader of Denmark, because they are the country that...
Monarch?
I think they have a monarchy, but then also have a Prime Minister as well, I think. That's the way it goes.
What are you...
Don't
are you saying that the Queen doesn't rule everything?
No. And they won't meet up with... doesn't want to meet up with the Prime Minister because he said, "No, I don't fancy..." The Prime Minister said, "No, I don't think I want to sell Greenland."
Yeah. Oh, it's so weird. We live in very strange times, don't we?
It's like if someone had done that title, like President of the United States refuses to visit state dignitary because he can't buy Greenland. Like you wouldn't. I'd be like, "Shut up, that's not real."
Yeah.
Like we're living in a state of time where satirical news can't keep up with actual news.
Nope, it really can't.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous.
Have you got any news stories to bring?
I do.
Go on.
Have you seen that they broke the quickest person ever going on a bicycle?
I saw like a passing headline but didn't click on it, so do tell.
So the title is Daredevil Breaks Cycling Land Speed Record. How fast in kilometers per hour or miles per hour do you think he went?
I know that it's... because I think I've seen the previous one. I'm sure it's in excess of 100. I'm just not sure how much in excess.
Do you think it's closer to 100 or 200?
I'm going to say closer to 200.
Okay, you would be correct. It's 174 miles per hour on a bike.
Yeah. It's not a normal bike, though, is it?
It's not a normal bike. It's something he's designed himself. And I was surprised by how small the tyres are.
Mm-hmm.
And like the gear, it's funny because he's obviously going very, very fast, but his legs are just like slowly going around.
Such a big gear. Gear's like bigger than a wheel.
Yeah. I think he's got 2 gears.
Yeah.
And then like chain off to the rear wheel. But anyway, I don't know. I feel like this is like a bit of a farce because obviously he's being pulled along by a car originally.
Yeah.
So he's like pulled along by a car that has like this like reduced, extended drag, so that he kind of gets pulled along by the drag.
When you say pulled along, he's not physically attached to it.
He was originally physically attaches, and then he detaches, and then he's like drafting behind
it.
So it's like using something extra to get you to that speed. I know it feels like a bit of a cheat to me. Do you not feel?
No, I don't care.
I wonder if there was like 2 different records.
I was about to say, I bet the reason I don't care is because I imagine there are 2.
Yeah.
There's one on a standard bicycle with normal dimensions, and then there's a speciality one.
Yeah.
Like if you do everything you possibly can to hit that speed.
I think I've seen one where people are doing it like down a like ski slope.
Yeah.
Where it's like an actual just skiing, not like a jump slope, but just skiing, and they've just like covered themselves in like lycra or something like that, and they're just like they don't really pedal at all. Like I think they like pedal once to go, and then they're basically just skiing on a bike down a hill, and that's like they get a land speed record doing that, which is basically like I'll fall from a plane on a bike then at that point, and once you hit the ground you'll be going really quick.
Okay, well, can we take a second to appreciate? So this guy did it on flat road, and he's propelling himself, and he's not wearing like massively protective gear.
He's wearing a helmet and maybe a little bit of leathers.
But I mean, have you ever been in a car? Not that we've ever spared, but have you been on a car in excess of like 80 mile an hour?
No, I never.
Never.
My car can't make it past 70.
Okay, hypothetically.
Yes, I have.
When you're at those speeds,
yeah,
you do feel a bit like if you twitch.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I was thinking
get a bit
this
sketchy
with the handlebars. Maybe he has to have like something that stops him from twitching, or there's some sort of gearage in between that because he couldn't do it on a normal bike.
No,
because as soon as you just twitch slightly,
bam.
Yeah, you're going off. You would hurt yourself a lot.
Because the closest I've come, which isn't even close, is when we've done a few like mountain descents on bikes. I've hit, I think it was around 52 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And that felt sketchy. Like I felt really on edge because it's just skin road.
Yeah. Oh,
like at that speed, you're screwed. And when he's nearly hitting 200 mile an hour, that's brave man.
Some dangerous stuff. It was like the luge, isn't it? On like the Winter Olympics when they're going down those.
Yeah.
Is it luge or like skeleton? Those ones were like foot first to head first, like mad people. Just going like 100 miles an hour, 4 foot off not even 4 foot, a foot off the ground. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, that was I thought you would be into that. You would have known.
Well, I have another slightly cycling related one.
Go on.
Because I saw this isn't important breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
There was a race, I think, in Norway, cycling race. And the winner of the mountains classification won a prize.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a type of food. It was salmon that he won.
Right.
How much salmon do you think someone could win winning a cycling race?
Could win or should win?
Well, either or.
If it's like a big cycling race, I would expect like quite a lot of salmon. But I don't know if I would want that. Like, say if it was me.
Yeah.
Like, how do I transport this salmon? Maybe like one salmon fish as like a. Do you know what I mean? It's like a token.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, all right. Put it in the bin.
I don't imagine that he like cycled to the race. It was on a pro team, so I imagine he's got means to transport his prize afterwards.
Yeah. But if it's like 50 kilograms of salmon, how are you getting that home? How are you keeping that refrigerated? How much is it?
So you've just said 50 kilos. Yeah. It's a lot more than 50 kilos.
Fuck off.
500 kilograms of salmon.
What? Why? Who
that
needs
was my
that?
thought. Why?
Is that salmon flesh or is that bone and head and everything as well?
I think whole salmon.
Right.
I think.
Do you reckon that's How much do you reckon one salmon weighs?
I don't know. Not a kilo, surely.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's a hefty salmon.
I Google it. I want to know how much a salmon weighs.
As a minimum, even if we go off that, that's at least 500 salmon.
That's what I'm saying. 500 salmon. Are they alive? Are they dead salmon?
I think dead.
Yeah. Imagine alive. You have to. Now I'm giving you this gift.
Now kill them all.
Yeah.
Weight of one
Atlantic salmon.
Oh, okay. Average weight of one salmon can be 3.5 to 5.5 kilos.
All right. So
chunky boys.
They are chunky boys.
Yeah.
So still 100 fish.
That's a lot. Yeah, it just amused me. It's like, why? Why would someone do that?
Maybe it's like is it supposed to be like a lifetime's worth of salmon?
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Like you couldn't eat that much.
But you've got to eat it within 5 days.
Or it goes off.
Oh, God.
Wasted.
Anyway. I got a couple more. This is kind of going back into movie news. So
have you basically gone like, I'm not going to bring any news for 6 weeks, I'm just bringing it
all
all
the news.
today.
I've been saving it all up.
Well, just cut it out and put it in the next episode. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is all breaking news.
Okay.
These next 3 things all happened yesterday.
Right, wow.
I can edit these out if,
if they're boring.
Shit. Right, have you seen this one is a quick one. The new James Bond film has released its title.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yes, it sounds very classic James Bondy.
Is it like...
See if you can guess it. I'll give you one hint. It has the word die in it, and that word is the last word.
A good way to die? Or a bad way to die? Or something like this?
Almost. No time to die.
No time to die.
Okay, I should have got that.
Well, if you give me more guesses.
What do you think of that, though? It kind of sounds like they might be going more back to roots of James Bond.
It sounds like it's going to be a line in the film.
Yeah.
They'd be like, the villain's going to be like, "This is your time to die, Mr. Bond." And he's like, "I ain't got no time to die." Don't know why he's like a racist impression of a...
I love the thought of Daniel Craig doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's great.
Well, that's interesting. Cool.
Anyway, next one. I don't know if you're a big fan of this, but maybe... No, you must have watched this. The Matrix.
I have heard of The Matrix.
Have you seen The Matrix?
I have seen The Matrix. It used to be one of my favourite films.
Okay, good. I imagined it would be from the themes. Mm-hmm. They've announced The Matrix 4.
Ooh. Is it going to have Leonardo DiCaprio in?
It is good. I think what you're looking for is Keanu Reeves.
He's old now. He's old now. I want Leonardo.
I reckon the only reason this has happened... as I love The Matrix, more the first one than the later ones.
For sure.
I reckon the only reason this has happened is because there's been a Keanu renaissance recently.
Right.
He's had a really good, successful year, hasn't he? And seems to have suddenly become the most popular thing. I reckon that they were like, okay, let's ride this wave while it's there.
I think if he's doing it because... Like, I don't think he wants to do bad movies now. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to, I imagine. So I hope that it's good.
If we get a good Matrix film out of it, then I'm happy.
Yes, I do enjoy The Matrix. Yeah. It kind of ticks lots of boxes for me. Sci-fi, messing with your mind, kind of... are we in a Matrix now? Simulations, stuff we've spoken about before.
I wonder what... Because when The Matrix came out, it was obviously very, revolutionary, kind of pushing the boundaries of film effects. And I wonder what they can do with a modern Matrix to do that. Yeah,
I think it will look cool.
Yeah. I don't think they'll just rehash it, is what I mean.
No.
They should... The new bullet time, whatever that'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
And the last one...
Go on.
This is sad news for me.
I know this one.
Spider-Man. So it's Sony... He's died.
Might as well be.
Might as well be. Sony have decided... I say Sony... Talks have broken down between Disney and Sony have ended their partnership with Marvel, which means that Spider-Man is no longer in the MCU.
Sad times.
The reason this has happened is Sony basically loaned the rights to Disney, and Disney made 5% profit of those films.
Is that it?
5%. So the reason this has happened is Disney basically said, look, we've basically rebooted, because Sony was on its last legs as a film studio. They were going bankrupt, and one of the reasons that it happened was they revitalized Sony, and they made their first billion-dollar film with the last Spider-Man film.
Right.
And Disney said, okay, now we've done this, and we've only taken 5%, we want to go 50-50 now with the profits. And Sony were like, nope, we're taking them back. Why they do that is beyond me.
Probably because they think, we can make a good film now, but They probably won't.
I hope it crashes and burns.
Do you think they would get Tom Holland back?
No.
Like, so as in Sony would pay him. Do you think they could pay him enough?
I feel like that must be the plan, because they couldn't possibly reboot Spider-Man for the 4th time within a decade.
I mean, never say never.
Never say, it's just, that seems crazy if that's if they do that, I guarantee that film will do badly.
Yeah.
Just purely because there's so many fans that will boycott it.
Yeah. Unless, for example, the best Spider-Man film that I've seen, at least recently, is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, doing something along those lines, something completely different.
But that's what I don't understand, because that's great, critically well received, it did well. Have that as their universe, and then keep that on the side. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's no reason.
Can have both,
they can have both.
But they want the cake and eat it too, don't they?
Yeah, I feel because I feel like that's not a stretch for Disney to go, okay, let's go 50-50. Now we've just made you $1 billion film, and they only took 5%. But I feel like Sony must be going, okay, now we've done that, we can do it ourselves.
We can make $1 billion on a film.
But the reason they've
done
done
it 100% instead of 50. Oh yeah.
Their last attempt with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sad times.
That's the end of my. See, now I can get off my high horse this week.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of films,
go on. They're good, aren't they?
They are good. I don't know if you've heard of them. No, The Lion King, the new reboot. Have you seen it?
I've not seen it. No,
I've not seen it either. But I've heard basically poor things about it. That it's just like shot for shot, and it's
incredible visuals.
Yeah,
but no heart, basically.
But it's still made over $1 billion, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is outrageous, really, for a film that's basically just pulling at heartstrings of nostalgia. It's just going to spawn more of this, I think. I mean, they're already.
I mean, this has already been spawned from all their other live action remakes. They've done Aladdin. I've seen they're doing Lady and the Tramp now, but I think they're just using dogs.
Right.
I think
so. Like the shit old Disney ones.
Yeah. They're just recycling. That's what I was saying. We're just moving into an age of there's barely any new properties coming. Yeah. It's just recycling old ones.
Because I think if you are looking at it from a business perspective, if you don't why would you take a risk on something new?
Yeah.
When you know that we'll just remake Lion King 2 for another $1 billion.
Yep.
Why spend hundreds and thousands, millions of dollars on a project that may or may not crash and burn?
Yep. That said, there are still good independent films coming out.
Sure.
Just
for sure.
Make more of them.
Right, shall we move on to fake news or not?
Let's do it. Right, what's fake news or not, James?
Fake news is where I bring to the table a outrageous news story that is either fake and been made up by myself, or is true, and you have to work out which is which. Or you just blindly guess and get points anyway.
Mm-hmm. And how many questions do I have this week?
None.
No. I believe I have one.
Okay. You can
have 3 weeks in a row with one question? Yeah, let's go with one question.
Okay. Man buys every lettuce in the shop and throws it back at the shop after being refused a refund.
I'm not going to ask where this happened, because I always ask that.
Yeah.
I want to know, was the item that he was trying to get a refund for a lettuce?
It was.
Oh.
Well, why?
That seems too convenient.
Yeah. True.
Well, it could have been like, try to return a TV. Oh, you can't get a refund. And he was like, what's the nearest thing to me that's cheap? All those lettuces. Getting all of them. Because they're throwable, Yeah,
you could. I think you throw a lettuce quite well, and I think it would make a mess.
Yeah, it would. But it also wouldn't cause harm to people.
It wouldn't. And it's probably not so hard to clean up.
Yeah.
You could,
and I'm sure that was his thought process. I want something that's not going to hurt them too much, but it's going to inconvenience them.
Yeah, because you don't do eggs. Maybe he's a vegan.
Maybe.
Yeah. It doesn't say he's a vegan.
It doesn't say. I can't
Vegan man buys every lettuce and throws it at shop. No, it doesn't say that.
Right, well, I've only got one question. This is going to be another short one. This is really riding the line between... Could be fake, could be true.
Gosh, if only that was what my job was.
I am going to say...
Okay.
That this story...
That's a drum roll for anyone that doesn't know.
Is fake.
It's fake?
Yeah.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Do you believe it's fake, or do you think it's true and you think it's fake?
I don't know. I don't even know anymore. I just think... No, my initial thought is this story is fake.
Okay. This story is fake. Made up by me. God damn it. Can't win nothing no more.
I'm just too good.
Yes, or am I just poor? I don't know these things anymore.
Maybe it's both.
Yeah, I think that was a good story.
That was a really good story. I think there was something James-esque about it.
Right.
It felt...
Was not enough details?
Just a little feeling.
I feel like you're becoming to know my fake stories.
It's almost like I know you.
Yes.
It's almost like we've been doing this podcast for a full year.
Man, it's nearly there, isn't it? 5 episodes. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
5 more.
It actually will.
Yeah.
Hang on, that doesn't bring us to a year, does it? In 5 weeks, it won't be when we started. It will.
Yeah.
That's how time works.
That's how time works. It'll have been 52 weeks.
But we've missed 2 weeks,
yeah.
So we'll hit 50 at the year.
Perfect.
It'll be we'll have a whole party.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We'll wear little hats.
We'll have to do something special.
We will.
And they'll hear that we're wearing hats over mics. Right, well, another win for me.
Another win for you. I'm so happy about it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Shall we move on to the main topic?
No, let me wallow.
You're done wallowing yet?
Yes.
Okay, good.
What are we talking about this week, Ben?
We've got a special... Well, the topic's not particularly special, but we did something special for the topic.
We actually went out and did something.
We actually did a thing.
It's not often we go out and do something, Ben.
It's not often. We either sit in the lounge and watch a film, or sit in here and do quizzes.
Chat shit, yeah. What BuzzFeed got going today, and we'll just talk about that.
Just piggyback off them.
Yes.
No, so we're talking about virtual reality.
We are.
And we went to a virtual reality centre.
Yes.
In Liverpool. Mm-hmm. The people at VR here were kind enough to give us a proper in-depth tour on what they've got. And they were really good.
Yeah, Brian, the guy that runs it, very nice.
Yeah, very nice guy.
Good chatting. He was showing us lots about the VR system and then his own personal stuff that he'd been working on to produce. Yeah, it was really good.
Which I'm sure we'll come to it. I actually found that the most compelling thing that we experienced, and we'll come to why. But definitely check them out if you're...
For anybody wondering, this is the thing that Ben was late for.
Yes.
Because he went down the tunnel.
Because I went down the tunnel. Indeed. Anyway, shall we talk about VR then?
Yes,
right.
We shall. You
have experienced it a little bit.
I have. I've done the PlayStation VR that we spoke about on this podcast.
Yeah. And I was kind of not going in blind, I knew a lot of the concepts, I just never experienced them.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, because you've kind of experienced a cheap at-home experience, and now you've experienced kind of what it can be at the moment, the leading side of it. What did you think compared to each other?
I think the jump, it is a jump, but it's not massive.
Yeah.
So I played the PlayStation VR to this was the Vive, which is kind of the top end of the VR at the moment.
Yeah.
And there is 100% a jump there, but the jump from normal gaming to VR is massive.
Yeah.
But then the jump from PlayStation VR to the Vive wasn't the same jump again. It was a lesser jump, but it was definitely an improvement. Should
we just, because there's probably a few people who might not be super up to date with VR, do you want to just explain the concepts of what it is?
Sure. So it's you are either playing with a console or with a PC, some sort of system that runs games, and you are wearing a headset, which is basically comes over the front of your head and covers your eyes. Within the headset, it has either one screen or two screens and some lenses to focus that basically into your eyes. And then the headset has sensors so that when you move your head within your physical space, it moves the camera within the game at real time, so it feels like you are a physical entity within that game.
Yeah.
You then control it by either on the PlayStation you have these two controllers that have lights on the end and buttons on them and triggers, or with the Vive you've got two controllers with holes in the middle and sensors that follow you basically everywhere, and you control the game through that.
Yeah. I think that's a good summary.
Thank you.
So it's basically, this is the thing I want to come to. I've been thinking in a very linear fashion with virtual reality in a gaming sense.
Right.
And what it made me realise after we experienced a few different things yesterday is that there's a lot of applications for this in terms of
Oh,
educational things.
yeah.
And I walked away thinking this is going to be the future of a lot of things.
For sure.
In my mind, just because we'd been talking about it, museums, it's a way that you'll physically be able to interact in spaces that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
You could be transported to ancient Egypt or to like the land of dinosaurs. Like there's so many things for it. And I think the unique thing about it is it's been happening for a while, but it's still on the cusp of, it's still developing.
Oh yeah, it's still
It's
the
not
breaking
a
of
fully
a wave. Yeah.
But I think it's one of the most revolutionary things that will happen. Like when it becomes fully formed, it'll be like when 2D gaming became 3D gaming. Yeah. It'll be that next big.
Yeah, it's going from never knowing what a gaming console is to video games to then 3D video games to then VR is like that next step. Yeah. I think we've been kind of just working on the same kind of principle for a while, from like, if you go like PlayStation 1 through to PlayStation 4, it's the same kind of concept, just an improvement upon that. There's only a certain level we can get to, and then I think VR is that next massive step upwards.
Because there's still so many companies working on, so virtual reality as a concept is obviously similar no matter how you experience it.
Yeah.
But there's so many different controllers that we saw even in that one space yesterday. Yeah. So there was the like gaming controllers that we were playing with.
Yeah.
But then the thing that I found most compelling and I was most intrigued by was so Brian that showed us around yesterday, he'd been developing a horror experience.
Yeah.
And what he'd been doing, there was basically an extra sensor that went on top of the head unit, and it basically tracked your own hands and translated that into in-game hands.
Yeah.
And that was the trippiest thing for me, because the biggest limitation I felt was using the controllers.
For sure.
And this eliminated that. So if you moved your fingers, it just moved the fingers in-game, and you could interact with the world around you. So he put a ball in the game, and I could physically pick up the ball. I could like throw it and catch it and knock it around the table.
Yeah.
And that for me, I was like, oh shit. Like this is where it's going.
For sure.
Like when they can get right, because he was talking about, because it's all new stuff that's being developed. He was talking about companies experimenting with like sound waves and wind motion to make you feel like pressure when you pick something up. And I was like, that's
the next level. Yeah. So at the moment with VR, we are like, you are tricking your eyes.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. And probably ears. Ears and eyes are kind of easy to trick.
Yeah.
But your physical sensation is much harder to trick.
Yeah.
So within a lot of the VR games, you can get a lot of motion sickness if it's not lined up properly, where you are moving within the game and you are physically moving. It doesn't line up. It can mess with your like kind of your balance because it throws you off. So that's hard to do. But then also your physical sensation of picking something up with your hand in real life is so different than picking it up using a controller or just using your fake hands in a game. You're basically feeling this imaginary ball.
Yeah.
It's basically if you imagined playing with a ball in your real life, it's like doing that, but you can see it visually.
But I feel like most of the heavy lifting is already being done. Once your eyes have been tricked, it would take very little to make you feel it too.
Yeah.
Because even though I couldn't feel the ball in my hands, the sensations were strong enough just in my head that I was doing it in the game.
Did it just kind of feel like a super light ball?
Like honestly, like even thinking about it now, you could just imagine holding a really, really light ball.
Yeah.
And it was because your eyes were telling you, because I almost got convinced, not almost, it's weird explaining it unless you're experiencing it. You found it a little harder because the hands in game didn't look like yours.
For sure, yeah.
But the proportions for me, they really matched my hands quite well. So my brain was already halfway there that these hands were mine. It was really trippy. And that's the thing, that even though it was Brian's kind of like build that he was still working on, it wasn't a finished game, the concepts were enough to make me just like, this is
absolutely amazing,
incredible.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the most time that we spent was with these kind of gaming controllers.
Vive controllers.
Playing games basically. So we did 3 experiences, didn't we? 2 of them were shooters, and one of them was like an experience, but we'll come to that after. So for me now, I just want to buy a VR for at home, because it's so much more fun. Like you experience the game more. It's like a level of immersion that you don't get with a controller.
100%.
Because you actually got, so there was like various guns that we were using, and one of them you had to hold like a shotgun and actually pump it with your hands to reload.
Yeah.
And your arms would get tired.
Yeah, for sure.
From doing it, because you were actually having to hold them up. And,
this first game we played was kind of like a horde game where we were playing two people fighting against a bunch of robots that would come in waves.
Yeah.
And we originally both started off as the guy who had 2 pistols, and you were kind of like dual wielding, like shooting these pistols.
Yeah.
And the movement, I think, is not there yet with most things.
Yes.
Like you had like a range of movement within your little room.
Yeah.
Which you could move slightly within the space that you were in, but then to move within the larger room, you had to teleport.
Yeah.
Which is an okay workaround for sure, but it does break your immersion a little bit.
100%.
But then in the second round we did it, I was playing an archer.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Like having to like kind of like clicking, pulling back, and aiming with my actual 2
wish
hands.
I tried him.
Yeah, and then releasing. He felt really smooth to play as. Really like it made it feel like I was pulling a really light bow and arrow.
Because that was the interesting thing. So the first round, we finished kind of pretty similar, didn't we? In terms of like kills and how we'd done in the game. Then the second one, we did different characters.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the hang of my shotgun.
No.
So I couldn't reload for half of it. And then for the last like minute of the game, I suddenly realized, oh, I need to hold it up near my eyes so I can see. Because I was holding it down near my waist, basically.
Right.
And then we finished and I got like 4 kills because I'd just been like, I couldn't work out how to use this gun.
Yeah.
But then I thought it was super interesting though that you had to handle things as you would in life.
Yeah.
And it took me a minute to like get to grips with that.
For sure.
So there's just a whole nother level of realism that you don't get when you're just holding a controller.
Yeah. Like at the end of that session, I was like, my arms are tired.
Yeah.
Like my arms are actually tired from doing this. Like it's like if you wanted to be good at that game long term and you were practicing the archer, you would build muscles.
Yeah,
you'd be having to do that constantly. Yeah,
100%. So this brings me to, so that was kind of the gaming side of things.
Yeah,
and the bit that I didn't think I'd feel like this, but I'm almost more excited for its other applications after we left this. So the third experience that we did. And this was where, again, I was more intrigued by the movement side of things. So before, you had to still click a button because you can't physically move to move your character in-game. But the third one we did, in this space, we had to walk, and your character would walk when you did.
Yes.
And
because it was like quite an enclosed space.
Yeah, so we walked into a lift, like actually walked in real life, and in the game we went into this lift. Then you press a button and it takes you up to the top of a skyscraper.
Yeah. Not as in like you press the button on the controller, but you kind of use your hand and the controller to move the hand in game and just like literally just physically push a button in. Yeah, it's cool.
So then this lift took you up to the top of a skyscraper. Doors open and there is a plank of wood about the width of your feet.
A plank of wood.
A plank of wood hanging off the edge and just a massive drop. And this was where we differed quite a lot. So I think the thing that helped me feel like I was there was the act of walking.
Yes.
Because in the last game, it felt like we were in a game.
Yeah.
And this one, I knew that we were in a game, but because I was physically moving the hands of this character and physically moving the feet of this character, I felt like I really was stepping out onto a plank,
it's like
overlooking a massive drop. And I had this like mental battle for about 10 seconds where I was like, I know that this isn't real, but it feels so real.
Yeah.
And I really got that sense of like vertigo and like motion sickness where I stepped out onto this plank and I was really struggling to tell myself that it was a game. And like for you, I think you just kind of stepped out straight away.
I did it, yeah.
You were fine.
It didn't bother me at all. But then I don't have any issues with height at all. Like
no.
I can kind of look off buildings, and I've planked at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to me. But I imagine someone that does. No, I'm not saying that you figure from it massively, but just had more of a
just
physical
having that
effect
sense
on
of it,
you,
and it really did feel like that.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't expecting because I knew what was coming. I was like, we're going up this lift. There's definitely I know what's happening, but it didn't change how I felt.
No.
When I actually stepped out,
and this is where it fools your mind much more. Like if you were playing a video game, you were looking at a screen, and you had a controller, you could walk out there so easily, it wouldn't bother you.
That wouldn't bother me in the slightest.
And it's because it gives you that, even like there's just the slightest movement of your head gives you that massive sense of depth that you don't get in a normal video game. Like you do get a sense of depth, but it's like a false 3D. You know you're looking at something 2D, and that if you physically move your head, nothing changes. You have to move within the game. But it's that sensation of you moving and that everything moves around you like it would in real life that gives you that massive sense of depth.
Yeah, 100%. I think when everything is working, because we kind of experienced everything separately, of like the kind of the technologies that when they come together, it will feel crazy real.
For sure.
So the experience of the finger tracking, if that was paired with, for example, we had a wire attached to our head, so we could move, but you knew it was there. When that becomes wireless, when your fingers are being tracked, and when you can physically move through a space, it'll become so much closer to real life.
Yeah, I've seen stuff that they're working towards where it is a wireless headset, and then the game is like you give it an area that you can play in. Like I think you have to like a slightly big area, but then the game works around that. Like it'll walk you up to a wall within the VR thing, which will be a wall in your life, and then it'll kind of like zigzag you your way through this thing, and it might not be like a real 3D stuff. Like, you might have to go back on yourself and it, like, fakes itself out, but you don't leave this area, but it feels like you're walking around.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen it cool where it's, like, it builds around the area that you've got.
Yeah.
So that's, like, the next level.
I can fully see... I imagine this will change again because technology will keep on updating as years go on. But it really wouldn't surprise me if, I don't know, 20, 30 years into the future, we've got bedrooms, we've got kitchens, you've got VR room.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think technology will probably take another step at some point. But in the interim, 100% I could see VR rooms becoming a thing.
Yeah.
That people will eventually get.
I think you wouldn't... Because VR can replace so much, right? It can replace your computer. It can replace TVs. It can replace like your phone. Like, and not really, but like that kind of stuff. Anything that you visually watch and have entertainment with, you can replace with a VR. Because you could... You get a computer, but you wouldn't need... If you had hand tracking, you could feel like you were typing on a keyboard and it'd feel like you have a screen. Like you could work in an office if just putting a VR headset on.
100%.
For example, like anyone that works in an office, they could all just sit at home and wear VR because and then have like they do this VR chat rooms now. Yeah. You could go to work, you sit in an office, you could go to a meeting with everybody chatting and stuff like that, but you're all just wearing VR headsets.
Yep.
Like that's the future.
I really don't think that side of things is too far off.
Oh, no.
But because I could very easily see, like you were just saying, working at a computer, you could put on like some hybrid, maybe of virtual reality and augmented reality.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were sat at a desk and just had a plank of wood shaped like what is a keyboard, and you could physically interact with that in the world, but in virtual reality, that could be the keyboard you're working on.
Yeah,
it could be so many things.
Yeah. And then I think the next big thing will be gloves. So you wear gloves that track you and then have like physical stopping so that when you grip something, it applies like pneumatic pressure so that you can't move your fingers in anymore and it feels like you've got something physical there.
Yeah.
Because if that technology gets there, you could make it feel like you're pressing in a key.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And, you know, you could probably play a guitar in virtual reality.
That was all that was going through my head when I first put on that headset and I could see my hands. The dexterity was kind of, I want to say like 75% there.
Yeah.
Because like you could interact your hands and I was trying to make chord shapes.
I know what you were doing with it.
I know there was no guitar there, but I was like, this is actually tracking my hands so well that I can pretty much make the shapes.
Yeah.
That was what excited me a lot because I was like, that suddenly opened my mind. I was like, this isn't gaming anymore. This can do so much more.
For sure.
This could be... I'm thinking in the sense of museums again, but like if you could interact with artifacts that are no longer around, you could experience so many things.
For sure.
And I know it's not completely there yet, but it's close. Like there's not too many moving... I think it'll be the cost of things. Yeah. When that comes down...
For sure.
It'll become so much more accessible.
Yeah. It's like the first generation of anything, really.
Yeah.
But this is it's not like it's the first generation. It's like, oh, it's kind of bad, but I can see where it's going.
Yeah.
When you do VR, you're like, this is a step up. This is an experience.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm very excited to see where it goes. Like you said, I would really, really want to get a VR machine. Yeah. I want to get a PC that can run it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I've got an Xbox, so I'd have to buy a PlayStation if I was going to do that, and then get the VR on top of it, which is probably at that point cheaper to do a PC. And
why don't we go halves on a VR headset, and then we can just use it here with my PlayStation?
Maybe.
I'll be intrigued actually. Brian at the VR Center brought this up. The new generation of consoles is coming around again.
Yeah,
and undoubtedly they're probably going to have a new version of VR Xbox may be included in this.
I would hope so.
You'd think both of them would. But the other thing that is kind of an issue at the moment is because the technology is there, but it's, I don't want to use the word gimmick because it's way more than a gimmick.
Right.
But it's kind of halfway between, it's not fully fluid yet.
Yeah.
Like big companies, it's like taking a risk with like new intellectual property. It's like, why would we fully take the risk on doing this now?
Yes.
When it's not 100% there.
No, because, you know, this, not gimmick, but maybe it's a fad.
That's, yeah, I don't want to use the word gimmick because it's not, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, where like this, people want to do VR because it's new and fancy. Yeah. But it has, like you said, the price has to come down for it to be accessible to general public. I'd like to get someone who has kind of no real concept of gaming.
Yes.
To have a go at it.
100%.
And see how they feel and how they find it.
Yeah.
And if they enjoy it more than, say, gaming. So I'm tempted to take Annie down.
Yeah.
And let Annie have a go at it, because Annie's not a big gamer at all. In fact, she doesn't enjoy playing it and kind of despises games in general. But I'd be curious to see what she thinks of the VR experience.
Yeah, I think it would be super interesting for someone who doesn't game at all to see their reaction to it. Because I think it would be a whole new level up from... I don't know what a level up from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just as a fresh experience, because we've obviously been quite up to date with just looking at its progress.
For sure.
And having like gaming mechanics instilled into us in some way.
Yeah.
That I think it would be crazy for someone to...
I think, for example, Annie would like the Lift experience, or at least enjoy an experience more than a game.
Yeah.
So like them first-person shooters that we played, I think Annie wouldn't enjoy that at all.
No.
Any game where you're having to like teleport is probably losing it a little bit. But that where
even I struggle to balance the mechanics of physically shooting and moving by teleporting. It was
took a while to get used to.
Yeah, definitely.
But like I mean, I picked it up quite quickly once you get used to it. But it's
like anything, the more you practice it, the better you'd get.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I think it's almost like abusable though. I think in the second game we played, where we played like versus zombies, I think you had like a max jump distance you could go.
Yes.
And then in game you were like dashing and rolling or something like that. That was a better mechanic almost, and you couldn't just teleport through stuff.
Yeah.
You kind of had to go around it as if you were just running and sprinting anywhere, which is cool.
That's the biggest drawback for me, is I really want the movement to be sorted somehow.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't... That was the thing that kept me thinking this is a game.
Have you seen those like things where it straps you in?
Yes.
And you're like, it's almost like you're sliding on something. You wear like special shoes and you run, but it's more like it's like a fake treadmill. It's not like a multi-directional. It's just you're running on like your foot just slides back. It's like
you're like kind of in a harness, and you just kind of lean and not fake running because you actually have to, but see that's the other good thing is when you picture like parents being like, oh, you got to go outside and do something physical because you're gaming. You could actually physically keep pretty active if you have to run everywhere.
Yeah. I think I've seen. Do you know the YouTuber Smarter Every Day?
No.
Well, the guy that runs that called Destin. I think I've seen him do a video on a multi-directional treadmill. Yeah. And it has this thing where I think it goes on your back and it tracks where that is. So it's like where your center of gravity is. Yeah. And then as you walk, the treadmill, it knows which direction you're going and will move in that direction. So there's like, I think it's very low latency, but I think they're working it down. It might be worth watching that and see what you think.
Yeah, I think I've seen a very similar, similar thing. But I think it would change the whole mechanic of games. For example, say it was an open world, something like Red Dead or GTA, where you're a character who normally in game I get very frustrated with. It's like you just want to sprint everywhere. Right. But if you're the one controlling it, you'd walk a lot of places.
Yeah, you would.
Just because in life you don't sprint everywhere you go to save time. You have to physically walk because otherwise you get tired.
I think I would be into a game like that more in VR, and I had to like physically do it. I think that would be cool. Do you think, for example, moral dilemmas, so where you're like having to save someone, or like, you know, even in like Red Dead you're just shooting someone, do you think if you're like feeling like you're in that world, you will feel worse for shooting someone that feels like they're next to you rather than in a game?
Yeah, completely agree with that.
Because I think a lot of people, for example, in GTA, will go on like mad rampages just for fun, just to see what it's like. Yeah. You know, kill a load of civilians, get a tank. Yeah. Fight the military. I think that would feel very people will have a much more like moral objection to it,
Yeah.
like personally, like feeling it more personal than if they were doing it in a game. And maybe as we spoke about last week, people saying that violence causes it. Maybe that people would feel more like they have a leg to stand on with that. If you're like having to literally physically beat someone, put the force into it to like kill them with a baseball bat, then I can maybe understand that person probably is having some sort of psychotic break within that game.
Because I was in normal games currently, I always try and play morally right, because I do feel not bad because I know it's a game, but I do try and go down that path. If I'm physically making those actions, I can 100% see playing more into that. And I can also say, even though we've spoke about this debate and I wholeheartedly do not think that video games cause violence, I could see if VR carries on as it is and becomes close to reality, I could see that being a problem with the distortion between life and games. I don't know where I stand on that, but I can definitely see that being more of an issue in that case than it is now.
Like, for example, if someone said to me, oh yeah, I was playing, I think it's Call of Duty 4 or 5, or the one where you have to go in and kill loads of people in an airport. Yes. That one that caused controversy in the first place. But if you had to like do that physically
gun them
or
down.
Like if you watch someone in VR just like, I don't know why, but like the visual representation of holding like a baseball bat
or like a knife,
and like stabbing someone is less like, I feel like it's harder to disassociate yourself from them than if you're just shooting a gun. But I feel like that would be like, oh, you're a bit weird. Have you seen, for example, this is going to be like a little tangent, but have you seen Westworld?
I haven't, no. I know what it is, but I've not seen it.
So in Westworld, you go into this environment where you're basically, it's like a big video game, and the people around you are basically computers. So it's like the super level of VR. Like, instead of building a world in a virtual reality, you're building the reality that's not real. Does that make sense? And people go into that, and they're like, you can do murders, you can do whatever you want, and it's not against the law because they're just a robot.
It's not real.
But then, you know what I mean? If we went in there and I saw you just, like the first person you saw, you just went and just beat the shit out of them because you could, that would change my opinion of you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, the only thing that's stopping you was the law from doing that. Which is like, oh, okay.
But maybe there's an argument for
a release.
Like a healthy outlet. But I don't know. I think there's still problems with that. Then it becomes like a purge situation.
For sure. For sure. Where you're just allowing someone to do this because it's better for the long run.
There's so many issues that are going to crop up in the future on like new laws and morals that need to come into place. Between virtual reality stuff, artificial intelligence, and the world's going to go to some crazy places.
For sure.
Because the technology really isn't that far away from a lot of these concepts.
No, I think it'll come as a shock to some people. Like, they don't follow it, like, my mum and dad, or something like that. It might come within their lifetime that, they come around to my house and my house is like barren. And all I do is I come home and put a VR. I can fully see that happening at some point. It's because we spoke about it before. There's going to become that point where this is artificial intelligence rather than virtual reality now. But when it becomes self-sufficient to develop itself, the explosion will happen so quickly. You won't even know.
That we won't even see it coming.
I think that's technology in general.
That's what I mean. Like, that's applicable to the virtual reality and everything else that's being developed now.
For sure.
But
I wonder here, as like a public health thing, do you think if VR becomes that good that it's like, it feels amazing, do you think video game addiction or wanting to live in that world will become like a much greater issue? I
mean, it's already pretty prevalent now. Like, there's plenty of people that deal with like gaming addiction. And I 100% agree. If the line becomes almost indistinguishable between reality and gaming, then
or that the distinction is, I prefer being in, because there are some people that are like, I prefer being in World of Warcraft because it lets me get away from the what I've got going on here, which is not really anything. But in there, I'm a clan leader, I'm a raid leader. I'm one of the best people in the game.
And you can physically step into that, not just look at it on a screen. That, of course, that'll become way more appealing to people because you can live it and experience it. But I think one thing, my perception has changed, and I already thought VR was good before I'd experienced it. It's one thing us talking about the concepts. It is the type of thing that you really have to experience
for sure
yourself to get it. And I recommend doing that.
For sure.
If you're in Liverpool, definitely go VR here.
Yeah.
Or just come to Liverpool if you're not in Liverpool
come to
and
Liverpool.
experience it.
If you know either me or Ben, come stay with us. I'll take you to VR.
We'll go VR.
For sure. It's amazing. He'd had quite a few people come.
Yeah.
He had Enter Shikari come to
Yeah,
his
that
thing.
was really
That was cool. Listening to him talk about meeting Enter Shikari. But you can have it as like you could rent out the whole place, I imagine. Speak to him for the right price.
That's the difference. Is at the moment, to experience it fully, you'd have to go to a place that's not at home.
No.
Because for me, the thing that I would lack at home is they had the physical spaces set up that you could move around a bit, and you couldn't do that at home.
No. Unless you set up your living room in a way that was just that way.
It's big... Currently, with how technology is, that's a big ask.
Do you not think that, for example, this room here, if you had it so that you didn't have that bed and couch...
Yeah.
I think you could set that up as a VR space there.
Like, I probably would, and maybe I will at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, not everyone's going to want to do that.
No.
I'm saying on an accessible level, not everyone's going to have the space to dedicate to that.
And some people might not want it for long term. Like, some people might be like, oh, that was good for an hour, but I wouldn't want to experience more of that.
Yeah. I'm really interested, and I've not researched enough of this to have a proper opinion on it, but augmented reality, I'm equally as interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, for example, like Google Glass.
Yeah, well, I'd say the most recent one that I've seen is Minecraft. They've developed this thing where you interact with your... So if it was in our room, we could build on this table,
right?
Or we could build it on that bed or on the floor here.
Yeah.
And interact with it like that. So it's an overlay in your space.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think... I don't know why that entices me less than just like pure virtual reality.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like it's almost like virtual reality just built with your room in mind, I guess.
Yeah.
So rather than having to build a space, you've got that space already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can get behind
That's what I think that might be a way around the movement issue.
Yes.
Because then there is a physical space that you can see and the game knows is there. I don't know if there's a way of combining that, but
yeah.
Anyway, shall we wrap this up?
I think we shall.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for listening for another week of Two Sheep in a Pool. Thank you to VR here and Brian for letting us use that facility. Absolutely amazing. You can find them at
vr-here.co.uk.
And you can find us in all the usual places: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Please give us a rating on your app if you're using an app. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll see you next week.